All right. Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining DevProd and Showdown, second episode, Android DevProd at scale. I'm Ruse. I'll be your host for today. Here's how it's going to work. We have four panelists, six topics, 30 seconds each for panelists to talk about, make their point on each topic. And then we want you, the audience, to vote via the polling mechanism on who made the best point. Who did you learn something new from? Who entertained you the most, right? Hoping you learn something new today and be entertained at the same time. So let's introduce the panelists here. Nelson from Gradle. I work with him every day. He used to work on Android at Square, at SoundCloud, right? He has some really cool Gradle plugins. And then we got PY from Square, right? He works on the Seller app, right? He's the author of Leak Canary, and he's got many years of Android experience. You've probably seen him speaking at a conference or meetup somewhere. And Emily, she used to work at Mozilla on Firefox for Android, and she's huge on Twitter and TikTok, right? And we're happy to have her here today. And my old buddy Ty, currently on the DevX team at Uber. He's been working on Android at Evernote, at Twitter. He's been everywhere, right? And you know him from his stuff from Fabric, and he's works with us on DroidCon and the San Francisco Android GDG, and that's what we got for today on the panel. Thanks for filling out the polls. Let's see the poll results. Okay, still waiting for the poll results. Okay, there we go. Okay, programming language. Hey, Kotlin. Yeah, of course, right? Probably makes sense with Android. All right, let's go to the next one. Ty's got his thumbs up. Yeah, there you go. Ty's ready. Imagine the perfect tool chain. Okay, yeah. I mean, folks think there could be room for growth, right? And that's what we want to do today. We want to promote productivity engineering. And so this is great. Yeah. All right, let's see the last one. Large, medium-sized code bases. How'd you like to see them organized? Yeah, it depends. Yeah. One repo for Android probably makes sense. All right, great. Thanks. Okay, let's jump in. Let's get to the fun stuff. Topic number one of our favorites here at Gradle, of course, open source. Is this something that companies invest in to attract new talent, or are they just trying to get some extra work out of the engineers? Nelson, you're up on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can look at this many ways. There's a lot of different companies and different strategies on this. Some companies, engineers start open source projects to solve internal projects and then open source them for all the world. And then developers get burdened sometimes by maintaining these open source libraries in their free time. On the other hand, there are companies like Gradle, Mozilla, and whatnot that are founded on open source projects. And this is why the company is founded. So it's, oh, I guess I'm out of time.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, you're out of time. You hit it. Okay, let's see. PY, you're next.
Oh, all right. I was waiting for it to start, but it's starting already. Okay, so I work at Square, and in the Android community, people know that Square has made a lot of open source libraries. So one common question is like, how do you do it? What's the strategy? And the answer is there's absolutely no strategy. We don't really have a strategy of investing in open source, but we have a culture. Basically, we were lucky that the first people who joined did this. So I think that's the key piece is the culture, and that's what helps set things up and get it started. And I'm out of time, so bye.
All right, Emily.
Okay, I'm going to just say yes, first of all, just to answer the question. And I'll take the pro open source kind of stance here and say that when it's done right with like the right intentions, that open source projects from companies that have resources to let their employees work on the repos are giving back to like the community and other devs on teams that don't have the time to invest in these things themselves. But definitely for it to be done right and not just be like a vanity project, there needs to be like good buy-in from the company with resources and company time.
Great answer. Ty, to wrap it up.
Cool, thanks. Why not both of them? But in addition to the tech brand, we've definitely seen another large value that we keep coming back to, and that's when Uber was early and we were scaling and hitting a bunch of constraints. We had to build a bunch of stuff internally because what was in the industry didn't work out well for us. And we've since worked closely with a lot of folks in the community and other projects and had a hand on the steering wheel on many of these. And that by doing that, we can make sure that what's coming out and what's being used by everybody also accounts for our use cases.
Great answers. All right. Okay, audience, now it's up to you to vote for who made the best point. So let's kick that off here. Okay, let's see those results. Emily, wow. Okay, Emily's on the board with the point. There we go. All right. We got to get those poll results out of there. Good one, Emily. Let's jump into question number 2. All right. Platform teams or feature teams? I'm sure you've all dealt with this. Ty, what do you think?
The company. I've been doing platform work for years and I love it, but it really depends. Companies that are starting out smaller, they can kind of scale up with one team until maybe 10 or 15, but they start to hit these pressure points and they need to split into sub teams. And that's a great opportunity to build out platform teams and split that work. The incentives for these different groups are kind of opposing. And to make sure that your app can scale in the long term, you need to have a group focused on the eng excellence things like architecture and app reliability and developer tools.
Okay, awesome. Emily, you're up next. Platform teams or feature teams?
Again, I'm going to say yes. I think ideally companies, have both, but it really depends, like Ty said, on company size and resourcing. I'm currently going from a feature team to a platform team because I want to try something new, but still love building, UI and features at the same time. It's definitely, immediate satisfaction to be on a feature team and ship something that like you built to users, but users aren't always super nice and platform teams get to make their own teammates happier. So I guess they're probably more popular.
Okay, great answer. PY, you're next.
All right, so I think the first thing I want to say is I hate core teams or platform teams. I think it's a last minute, it's a last resort when you have big problems. At Square, we had one Android team, and then we split into feature teams. And for like 5 years, we managed to just keep feature teams because everybody was involved and making things better. Eventually, we had too much code, and we had to create core teams. So they have to be here to empower and not be the bosses or the master who decide about the architecture and that kind of stuff. So it's a mindset thing.
I love that answer. Nelson, wrap it up. What do you think?
So I've worked at companies that have been both just a platform team, just a feature team. I've also worked at companies that have switched back and forth a couple times. Those are very interesting companies as well. But I gotta say, at a small scale, you need to be a platform team. At a larger scale, you kind of need both. I personally love to work on the platform team. I love fighting for Android. Android is awesome, but you really need both, right? Some companies are going to be platform driven. Some companies are going to be feature driven.
All right. Okay, audience, what do you think? Who made the best point? Why don't you guys vote? All right, let's check out the results here. PY, yay. It was a close one between you and Nelson, but you got it. PY gets a point. Nice one. PY's on the board. We got PY and Emily on the board. Okay, let's go to question number 3. In large legacy code bases, is it better to have a single consistent architecture or let each team pick their own? And Emily, you're up first. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think it's good to have a consensus on like a contemporary architecture recommendation for new code to help like onboarding and readability. But you might not want to migrate like old modules to new architecture patterns. And I think that's totally fine. And in a similar way that, many legacy code bases that are massive have very old files and Java that we just like don't want to think about those files, right? So I think the answer is kind of, it depends, but it's good to have a consensus among the like newer files.
Okay, great answer. Yeah, and you gave us 2 seconds back. Okay, PY, you're up.
All right. So I think single consistent architecture is great as long as it's not fragments. That's pretty much it. But in practice, really, I think it's really important to have that sort of single architecture mindset so that it's just easy to get started. But it's also very important to not like to allow engineers to innovate and try new stuff. So because I don't want the core team to be building the core stuff and everybody else can't. I want them to contribute as well.
Okay, great answer. All right, Nelson.
Yeah. So I see this kind of as a political question. I don't think there's kind of a true right answer, right? You can have a central team that decides everything for all the other teams and they have a single architecture. And that kind of doesn't allow for experimentation. It's kind of similar to, you can have every state pick their own marijuana laws, or you can have the federal government say there's a certain marijuana laws. At the end of the day, people are going to do whatever they want.
You should get a point just for the marijuana laws example. I love it. Okay, Ty, wrap it up.
Cool. We scaled up pretty quick. Uber's a big company. At the beginning, there was this mantra of let builders build, and it really quickly became chaos in the different orgs and the different apps being different things. And we run into all these tech debt issues and eventually had to declare, kind of tech bankruptcy. So we spent a long time getting everybody onto a consistent architecture, and that's really allowed us to scale going forward. We have this architecture called Ribs. It's very similar to Viper, and it's allowed us to put hundreds of engineers on top of it.
Yeah, I love the Uber large example. All right, audience, what do you think? Who made the best point where you learned something new? And yeah, let's kick off that poll. All right, let's see. Nelson is on the board. Hey, there we go. Nice one. All right, okay. Question number 4. What is your strategy with dealing with flaky tests, right? This is a problem that everybody has from all over JVM. Everyone we talk to, we see this all the time, right? PY, you're up. Flaky tests. How do you deal with it?
Okay, so the first thing is usually you can't fix all the flaky tests, but you got to have a strategy. Otherwise, people stop trusting the test and they stop running them and it's useless. So the strategy generally is first, repeat the flaky test on master and let master pass because you don't want master red. But on pull requests, don't let the flaky test repeat and have them fail the pull request so that people look into them. And the second thing is gathering data so that you know which tests are the most flaky and then investing. Providing helps to understand what's going on.
Nice. Yeah, that's a very nice strategy. All right, Nelson, flaky tests.
Yeah, I would say there's no right strategy, but the important thing is to have a documented procedure on exactly what to do. And the more steps that are automated, for example, automated flaky test detection, notifications, even assigning JIRAs automatically based on who touched the code, that stuff just reduces confusion and finger pointing and things like that. Even if the automatic JIRA assignment isn't perfect, at least someone will have a ticket, they can pass it around. But it's also important to time box these things. Sometimes you can spend all day on a flaky test.
All right. Ty, how do you guys deal with flaky tests?
Our on-call usually just cries a lot. But actually, for UI tests, we have a service that will rerun the tests when they fail, so we can identify if it's a flaky test. We want to keep our submit queue always flowing, so things landing. We can fail on CI, and engineers can fix it there. But when we've identified these tests, the service can then mark them as flaky, file tickets automatically, and get those teams to prioritize getting those fixed.
Okay, love it. All right, Emily, wrap it up. How did you guys deal with flaky tests?
Yeah, I think, it depends how much time you have. So if you're very short on time, you just want to pray to some entity that it'll pass before a deadline so you can merge your PR in. And then you want to file, follow-up issues, whether it's automatically or manually, to, make the team feel better. And then, if a flaky test fails and no one filed a follow-up issue, did it really fail at all? But yeah, you want to do some monitoring, prioritizing, and then investing time in, the worst flaky test to make sure that you're addressing those issues as they come up.
Yeah, love it. Prioritization, right? Need some nice tooling around that. Okay, audience, what do you think? Who made the best point where you learned something new about how you should maybe change your flaky test strategy?
Doing this acapella.
All right. Here come the results. Drum roll. Ty. Woo! They love how you guys dealt with it at Uber. Right. Great, and a great example. Everybody's on the board now. We got a 4-way tie. Good thing we have a tiebreaker question. All right, we got 2 more to go. Question number 5. Hire a generalist or a specialist, right? And also, I guess, depends on how big your team is and where things are at. So, Nelson, why don't you go first? Generalist or specialist?
Is a jack of all trades is a master of none. So that being said, so I want to be the master in whatever thing I want be an expert in. But as a company, they want to hire the generalist. They want this person to jump between whatever thing they want them to do, fulfill whatever goal they want it to be. So it really depends if you're the manager or the engineer. But if you're the engineer, I would say you want to be the master in what you want to do, and you want to be irreplaceable, that no one else can do what you do.
Okay. I love how you kind of flipped it to, look at it from a different view. PY, you're kind of in a lead role. Who do you want to hire? You want to hire a generalist or you want to hire a specialist?
All of them. I want to hire, a diverse mix of people. And I like to think, I don't like the term generalist or specialist. I like T-shaped profiles. We talk about T-shaped, multiple T's. The idea is that you're broad, but you can go deep on a subset of things. And then what's really important is that it's okay. If you know Java and you don't know Android, I can teach you. You can come work with me as long as you're good at learning. And maybe you're going to learn about product, and maybe you're going to learn about other things. We're looking for learners that can go deep over time.
All right, folks, you got that. Every Java developer on the planet is going to send you a resume, PY. Emily, what do you think? Well, generalist or specialist?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of echo PY a bit, surprisingly, but I'll take the standpoint that I'm totally fine with, hiring someone with very little Android experience into an Android dev position, especially if your team already has, pretty good Android expertise. In my past role, we pulled in a few iOS web devs into our team and ramped them up pretty quickly to be effective engineers. And in general, Android and mobile team needs are just constantly evolving. So the ability to and desire to learn will suit anyone well in the role.
Okay, love it. Ty, to wrap it up, you're a lead. Go ahead.
It really depends on the stage of the company. If you have the headcount, you're larger. I definitely think mobile engineering itself is a very deep domain that can have a lot of specialty. At Uber, we have dedicated engineering specialties, mobile, ML, data, et cetera. So we want to keep that and let people grow into that so that they see they have a career path that affects promos and hiring committees and even our architecture council. It's all very domain specific to allow for that specialization.
Okay, love it. All right, folks, what do you think? Who did you learn the most from on this topic, and what answers did you like the most? Let's kick off this poll. All right, here we go. Let's see. Hey, PY in the lead. All right. Okay. Question number 6. You know, being at Gradle, we deal with this one all the time. When should you hire or assign a Android developer to work on builds, right? So that's the main question here. I mean, we've seen it when Android teams get around 10 devs or more, they start feeling the build pain. But yeah, Ty, what do you think? You've been on many different types of teams and Android teams and whatnot. How do you deal with that?
Sure. Well, I still haven't been able to automate myself out of a job in the DevX team, so I think they need to exist. But it definitely depends on the size of the company. Again, as the company scale and you get platform teams, that's kind of a great indicator when things start slowing down and there's complexity that you might want to have some specialization in the build stack. We've gone back and forth between the dedicated DevX team that's separate than platform and a hybrid model where they're working on frameworks and libraries and architecture and the build tooling and CI, and we find that helps keep developer empathy pretty high and is successful.
Nice, yeah. I'd like to see some of you guys talk about, hey, what pains or what things you see that triggers like, hey, we need to assign someone to builds. But no, don't feel obligated to do that. Emily, what do you think?
Yeah, so I would say, I think most engineers, I'm sure that's who's watching, would know that, build issues can quickly become a huge productivity time suck and like a bottleneck for development. Unfortunately, depending on the company, it's not always easy to get headcount for that, especially if you're like a growing company. So I'd say, when you have the resources that you can get a dedicated build engineer, that would be like step one. But it definitely, helps feature teams out to not have to worry about these things.
Okay. PY, what do you think? When should you assign a build engineer or hire one to your project?
No, Ruse, you're going to regret asking that question. I think the answer is, it's about pain, right? And the answer is when you start using Gradle. Sorry, I had to say that. It was kind of a trap. But back in my days when we were using Maven, we had no build engineer. It was working fine. But the thing is, today there's a lot of complexity, right? So I guess as soon as everything's on fire, it's probably too late, I guess. So do it before.
Before everything's on fire. We'll take that. We'll take that. I don't buy the Maven thing, but it's fine. Okay. Nelson, you're up.
Yeah, so what I'd say is you measure it by WTFs per minute per engineer, and you plug it into a formula, and it'll tell you exactly how many engineers you need. No, but really, it's what kind of company you want to build. I think engineers really want to work with the best tools and be the most productive. Similar way to a chef wants to work with the sharpest knife in order to cut food in the most consistent way to make the perfect meal. I think engineers have that same mindset and they want the best tools and to be most productive. And if you want to work at that company and hire the best engineers, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, you can't do good sushi with a crappy knife, so I totally get it. All right, audience, let's see. Whose answer did you like the most on this? Oh, where's that drum roll? Nelson, hey, just by a hair. Wow. PY almost got that one too. Nice. All right, we have a tie. Oh my God. We
Uh-oh.
have two
Uh-oh.
ties, but yeah, we have tie and a tie. All right. Okay. So now, good thing we have a tiebreaker question. We got 2 minutes left, so perfect timing. Let's kick off this tiebreaker question here. So the tiebreaker question is, what's the best way to get Android developers to work at your company? It's a softball, easy one, but yeah. Okay. PY, you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, I'll get started. Well, the answer is easy, right? Like you probably all know about Square, and I'm sure a lot of you might be interested in working at Square. Actually, we're hiring and all that. But the key. Oh, there's no timer, so I guess I have infinite time. The key thing for us has been, doing public talks, contributing to the community, being very visible. I joined Square. I didn't know what Square was doing. I just knew about the open source. In fact, Nelson also joined Square back in the days. So, that's been a very efficient strategy to get people. So I guess do more open source, do more public talks, and also be a good company. I'm not going to point out any company here, but if you have a good image, it also helps if you're not doing bad things.
All right. Okay, Nelson, go.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo a lot of those points because I have a similar mindset. I think engineers want to work with people they can learn from. And if you have cool open source libraries and tools, you're like, man, that engineer is so good at that thing. I want to learn how they think about things. At the same time, as an Android engineer, especially, a lot of times you really want to work on that app that you use every day. So if you have a cool app that you actually are really passionate about, that's super important. And then I guess my third point is you want to work where you're most productive and you can get shit done.
Love it. All right, audience, let's kick the poll for this tiebreaker between PY and Nelson. All right, here we go. Here we go. Hey, Nelson, we're the winner. Hey. Nice, nice.
Hey!
So, Nelson, you get your 15 seconds of fame. What do you want to promote? What do you want to talk about?
What I want to talk about? I didn't think I'd make it this far. But I don't know, it's really interesting having different perspectives from different companies. Like I've worked with PY before, and now I'm on the other side of the fence. So it's really interesting to have different perspectives on different topics, different ways of doing things. It's always fun to learn new things.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Ty. Thank you, PY. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Nelson. And thanks to the audience and, of course, our sponsor, DroidCon folks. And we'll catch you all at the next event, next DP Showdown. We haven't announced it yet, but we will do that soon. And we're doing this really nice webinar here at Gradle with Elastic and Google Cloud. And there's PY on his Peloton. Yeah, there you go, waving goodbye. All right. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.